Today we're gonna go over all the tanks in Season of Discovery, all the new runes that they are getting, and we are gonna try to answer the question: who the heck is gonna be the best tank? First of all, let's take a look at the Warrior. Now, contrary to popular bot horting, the Warrior is just fine, okay? I can hold aggro against pretty much almost any enhancement shaman. I can hold aggro against them, and I am tanky and reliable enough that I can solo tank all on Omega on my own. As a matter of fact, to prove my point, I stream myself doing that with randos on stream every lockout, and it's just fine, nobody complains. The Warrior has also some really good utility that you wanna take. They got Thunderclap, and they got Demoralizing Shout, and they got Sunder Armor, and even a mediocre Warrior that knows how the hell to play. He's doing like 400 DPS at this point, easily, especially if they are dropping some Bloodthirst on it. Having that said, and reminded you that the Warrior is literally just fine, you whiners, let's take a look at what the runes got to offer, okay? The first rune we're getting for the helmet is gonna be Shield Mastery. With this rune we're gonna do 10% more damage when we get a shield. Of course, 10% more damage is about 10% more threat, it's a lot more rage, of course, so it is really nice. If this in a vacuum would be really good, but of course the big deal is not this rune, okay? The rune that is a big deal is this one, Vigilance. What's up with Vigilance? You drop a buff on somebody else, kinda like Spirit of the Alpha, but this time they give you 10% of their threat to you. So they do 10% less threat, and you get 10% of their threat in return. This has the potential, especially if we come up with a new class that has like threat issues, Enhancement Shaman, this has the potential to be the highest scaling rune in the game, okay? I don't know how Warriors complain so much. Yeah, it is boring, I get that it is boring, but it is really cool though. So now, if somebody in your raid has like insane threat, a DPS is like a huge pain in the butt to tank off, you're not gonna see him as a problem anymore. You're gonna see him as an opportunity. I'm gonna go and get like my Enhancement Shaman DPS guy, and I'm gonna tell him, hey man, you put on double rock biter and you pump. And that is how I'm gonna hold aggro from now on. It's perfect, it's amazing. There is a couple problems with it. First of all, if you are taking it on a single target DPS and you're trying to do something like Menagerie, for example, let's take an example from American because I don't know the fights in Sunken Temple, obviously. You are only gonna get threat of what they are doing. So if you wanna get like AoE threat, you gotta put it on an AoE guy. At the same time though, if you get a really pumped AoE, this thing not only gives you 10% of their AoE threat, okay, you also get a taunt refreshed every time they get hit. So if you're doing a pull, whoever is AoEing like a maniac is gonna pull aggro, no matter what, okay? That's not a question. The good thing though is that you can get infinite taunts every time they get hit. So you can just taunt one, taunt the other, and so on and so forth. In the course of like 5 globals, you probably got most of the mobs taunted. So this is really nice. So depending on how the DPS classes work, the Warrior is very likely to be the best tank in the game for threat. Just because it's not depending on him, it's depending on whatever broken thing Blizzard is. And like, can you believe for a second that Blizzard is not gonna do something broken this tier? Like, who do you think they are? The other runes down here, they are a lot more boring. Okay, let's take a look at this. We got Sword and Board. This gives you a chance to get free shield slams that they have cooldown refreshed every time you devastate and revenge. I made entire videos, like several of them, explaining to you guys why Shield Slam is a terrible spell that doesn't scale and sucks. I was hoping they would make it, in this rune, make it scale better, but they don't, okay? Like, if you get 1,000 of bad stuff, it's still bad stuff. So this might be kinda good if you are like badass naked, okay? I am open to the idea that at least, maybe if you wanna rely on Vigilance, okay? Because they are giving you threat that you do not generate. Maybe if this is enough to hold aggro, going prot for being extra tanky is not a stupid idea, and maybe this is gonna work. I do not see it working though. There is no way this is the highest threat build possible. The other rune you get here, Wrecking Crew, it enrages you and gives you 10% damage when you crit. The problem with this rune is that it sounds good, but when you get a talent in Warrior tier. Let's check out the talents. When you get crit, you get 25% extra damage with this talent right here, Enrage. And this talent right here is gonna override it, okay? So you go from 25% extra damage to 10%. So there is a lot of situations where this talent is gonna cost you damage. It's not gonna give you damage, it's gonna cost you damage, and that's stupid. So the only one that you can go if you're Fury is Rampage. It gives you attack power. You get 2% attack power and you do a couple more of those and you get 10% attack power. Not great, but it is still really nice. 10% attack power, more bloodthirst, more boom boom. Boom boom is good. I think most warriors would rather take a bad bracer rune and keep being Fury than go prot for the good shield slam rune, so yeah. But overall the warrior remains a very capable tank, and depending on which class becomes the most busted DPS class, they may very well have the highest theoretical threat per second in the game by taking somebody else's threat who is the highest. So they are going nowhere, okay? Vigilance is insanely good, especially because of how threat works. If you tank yourself, you can tell that most raids, of course in a tryhard guild is not that quite way, but in most guilds you get like most people are fine and there's this one guy that is pulling threat of you all the time. So being able to take care of that one guy, that's something that I do with Intervene, by the way. I think Intervene is a very slept on rune. But yeah, you can get rid of that guy basically. So that's a great way to secure threat in practice. The next tank we gotta look at is the Rogue. Now, the Rogue is perfectly viable. We run a Rogue tank in many of my lockouts, and they are just fine. The problem is that they are extremely clunky. Like, who the hell designed this thing clunky? Their mitigation is inconsistent. Sometimes they do not take any damage for 20 seconds, and sometimes they get parried and one-shot. That's the Rogue life right there. Sadly, we didn't get to see any of the runes intended for Rogue tanks yet. Okay, let's take a look at what we got to see so far. We got to see one that gives you 15 energy when you hit with your offhand sometimes. We got one that every time somebody crits you get a combo point. And we get one that every time we crit we get 2 energy. They are nice, especially the combo point one is nice, but that's nothing groundbreaking, okay? That's nothing that's gonna change the tank Rogue. So, in my opinion, the Rogue in this phase is gonna be inconclusive. We got no idea what the Rogue is gonna look like, so yeah, rip, rest in peace, we don't know. Gotta wait. If it stays the way it is and no good rune comes out, the Rogue is gonna absolutely suck. Next in the list is gonna be the Bear. Oh, my dear Bear, I missed you so much, my darling, okay? The Bear has been unplayable the whole tier. Yes, commenters, I know they buff swipe, oh my god, 10% of my attack power, oh no, but it still sucks. It still sucks, I tried it sucks, shut up, okay? The Bear sucks. Let's take a look at how it changed though. If you look at the Bracer runes, both of them are intended for casters. One is to use Frenzy Regeneration when you are not a bear, expressly not a bear, and the other one is for Efflorescence, which is a healer rune. So the only one we got to see is Gore, okay? Striking a target with Lacerate, Swipe or Maul has a 15% chance of resetting the cooldown on your Mangle, okay? That's the bear one. At face value, this thing doesn't look like too interesting, okay? Like getting a reset on your Maul, on your Mangle, I mean, that's nice. The wording of it is the part that I care about, okay? Why would they say striking a target with Lacerate can reset your Mangle? As you guys know, Lacerate is in the same slot of the runes as Mangle, and that was the main problem with the Bear, okay? They made Mangle to buff your Lacerate, and they made Lacerate to fill in between Mangles. So of course, Agren in all his wisdom made it so we cannot have both. Because of course, like, why not? So this wording right here, like, this implies that Lacerate is gonna be possible to have alongside Mangle. And that would be really neat, okay? Let's hope that happens. Otherwise, if it doesn't happen, the Bear is gonna keep sucking. Next is gonna be the Shaman tank. Of course, the Shaman tank has been the best tank this tier, the previous tier, the tier before the game came out, the tier when Chris Metzen had a cheese-induced hallucination in 2005. The Shaman tank has always been the best tank in SoD. Now, the only tank rune we got to see about the Shaman yet is Mental Dexterity right here. Every time you do damage with your melee weapons, you get attack power by 100% of your intellect, and your spell damage and healing by 30% of your total attack power. Of course, attack power by intellect is not much because nobody stacks intellect. It's nice, it's like a nice little more stats, and there is intellect in Shaman gear, whether we want it or not, so that is really convenient. The big part though is here. 30% of your attack power is gonna turn into spell power. That is insane because, yes, Molten Blast doesn't scale of attack power, Lava Burst doesn't scale of attack power of spell power, Storm Strike doesn't scale of spell power, but Earth Shock and Flame Shock, which are your bread and butter ones, they do scale of spell power. So 30% of your attack power in spell power. Remember guys that spell power is usually way more valuable than attack power stat-wise. this is a lot of Earth Shocks worth of threat. So the Shaman is, even if nothing cool comes out of it, it's gonna stay like a very capable tank. So I don't think the Shaman is going anywhere. And we still haven't seen the other runes, so let's take a look at that when that happens. That will be really cool. The next class is gonna be the Warlock. Of course, every freaking Warlock is going fire because Searing Pain is fire, and the fire rune right here is Backdraft. Your conflagrate is 30% haste. Can you imagine having 30% faster Searing Pains, like your global cooldown 30% faster? That's basically what this means. You're gonna get 3 in 10 spells more. There is a little problem, and that is that even though Conflagrate is an instant spell, Immolate isn't, and you need Immolate to do Conflagrate. So there is a little bit of a awkwardness here. You gotta do like a 1.5 second cast to get it off. But aside from that, there is no way this is not gonna be busted. Whatever threat the tank Warlock was doing, they are gonna do about 30% more. It is gonna be very hard to compete with something like that. But that is not all though, because they are also getting a really convenient rune right here, Immolation Aura. As you guys can see here, it's like a buff you put on yourself and it does AoE damage around you. It is very similar to Consecration. And even though this is intended for AoE, it is still gonna be like insane single target threat, because you just drop it on yourself and it does damage for a bunch of seconds. I don't know exactly the duration, it doesn't say here, but it's gonna be like about 15 seconds probably. This used to be a Demonology Warlock ability in Wrath of the Lich King, so it is probably gonna work very similarly to that. So the Warlock is gonna become way more capable in single target, about 30% better at it, and it is also gonna get AoE now, good AoE now. So the Warlock is gonna be like an excellent tank. If you are Alliance, the Warlock may be one of the best tanks for you. This is very similar to Consecration. And speaking of Consecration, let's talk about the Prot Paladin. First of all, the Paladin is already doing very well, okay? The Paladin is one of the highest DPS tanks in the game by now, and their threat is good, they got good AoE, they got good everything. But it's still gonna get a lot better. The intended rune for Prot Paladins is gonna be Improved Sanctuary. It is like a lightning shield, but it absorbs damage too. It is gonna absorb double the damage, that is about 19 more damage absorbed, not huge. In AoE pools it is a little more huge, and it's also gonna do 30% more damage based on your block value, which is nothing. So yeah, this rune freaking sucks. I don't know who the hell designed this thing. That doesn't matter, don't care, okay? Don't care. You can have this rune agrand, okay? I don't care. You had to put something in here, I get it, okay? I also had to fill in on essays when I was in school. But this rune right here, Rat, this is the Red Paladin one. Your Consecration damage can now be critical strikes. And damage from Exorcism, Holy Shock, Holy Rat, and Consecration gains additional critical strike chance equal to your melee critical strike chance. Let me get that straight. It doesn't mean that your melee crit is gonna turn into spell crit. It means that you're gonna get your spell crit and your melee crit in your spells now. So if you're fighting an undead, if you're fighting a demon, or if you're doing AoE pulls, the Prot Paladin is very likely to be the strongest freaking tank in the game. The Prot Paladin is already extremely tanky with Redoubt. It is one of the best talents in the game, and it doesn't need any more tankiness. So threat is like, this is insane. Also, if you take a look at the other rune, okay, this is my favorite one right here, Purifying Power. Reduces the cooldown of Exorcism by 50%. So you can do an Exorcism every 7 seconds now. And also you can do Holy Rat on any mob, even if they are not undead or demons. So you got an excellent execute that is also more AoE. You got you got like a 30-40% chance to crit on Exorcism, and it is a 7-second cooldown now. Okay, imagine if you're dropping 2k Exorcism after 2k Exorcism after 2k Exorcism every time you're fighting an undead. And if I recall correctly, there is 2 bosses in Sunken Temple that are undeads, the Skeleton Dragon thingy and the Zombie Troll guy. There is no way they are not gonna be stupid as hell, okay? We might even see Prot Paladins getting like 100 in the leaderboards just because of these runes. Definitely Red Paladins are gonna be insane, and Prot Paladins are probably gonna skip all the Prot runes and just take these 2 to do insane threat too. All I'm trying to say, the Prot Paladin very likely to be busted as hell in the right fights. Okay, some fights is gonna suck. And that pretty much takes care of all the tanks, okay? I think we got a lot of good options. The only two tanks that I wouldn't recommend you try to play ahead of time, that is gonna be the Rogue and that is gonna be the Druid. Because they are gonna live and die by the other rune they get. And if it sucks, they will suck. There is no guarantee that they are gonna be decent. Like if you look at the Warrior, there is no way it's gonna suck. You look at the Prot Paladin, even the Shaman, they are very unlikely to suck. But if you look at the Druid and the Rogue, they are on the edge, okay? They are gonna need something pretty significant to keep up, so choose them at your own discretion. Subscribe, leave a like, join the Discord, and thank you for watching!